Did CERN break the PeV barrier with lead ions? Some of you who are familiar with this type of research may have come across this story before, and when I first came across it, I didn't really know what to do with it. It's something that, honestly, when I first looked at it, it seemed so ridiculous. I mean, CERN has been running at running the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, at 13 tera electron volts, and or TeV. Now a PeV is 1,000 tera electron volts. So I couldn't imagine that such a big jump in energy would happen and would actually be real. But to my surprise, it is. This actually happened. This is actually real. Now there is, there's more to the story than just that, which we are going to get into in this video, and hopefully I'll be able to go through all this information in a way that's understandable to everybody. Not saying that I'm so smart that this stuff is only accessible to me and nobody else. I'm not. I don't take that attitude. But unfortunately, a lot of scientists do, a lot of physicists do, and because of that, when they communicate their findings to the general public, a lot of it gets skewed and lost in translation. And I when I first heard this, I thought this was one of those situations. In a very small way, it is. In a really, really small way. I think the general idea of how CERN of how the LHC actually works is I think that people more or less might, and because I have this idea that they have a certain amount of energy that they can collide these particles with, and they turn it with a knob, and they can turn it up to 13 or 14 TeV. And then when this story came out, I think people just thought that, well, they just cranked up the knob as much as they could go, as much as it could go. But it's there's more to it than that. It's actually has to do with the particles that they're colliding. Usually, the LHC collides protons, but they made the switch to lead ions. I think just for a month. I think. But anyway, there are a couple articles that we can go through that help explain this a little bit better, and then I'll give you my opinion. And then, as always, I want to hear your opinion on this. Where is this leading? What type of quantum future are we in for? So the International Business Times has article, and you can find these articles in the description below, but it says the headline is CERN LHC update, Large Hadron Collider smashes energy record with lead ion collisions. And that right there is the key, that they're using lead ions instead of protons. So that's what's going to help us make sense of this. It says, in a major step toward understanding what the universe was like moments after the Big Bang, scientists at CERN's Large Hadron Collider, LHC, on Wednesday began colliding stable beams of lead ions, lead atoms stripped of negatively charged electrons, at unprecedented energies. The LHC was successful in colliding lead ions at 1,045 tera electron volts, TeV, which is approximately twice as high as that of any previous collider experiment. Now that right there would cause some to question, because as far as we know, wasn't the LHC the most powerful one, and it could only run at 13 or 14 TeV max. So how is this only twice? Well, it'll make sense as we go along, but it goes on to say it is tradition to collide ions over 1 month every year as part of our diverse research program at the LHC, CERN Director Gerard Rolf Ewers said in a statement marking the occasion. This year, however, is special as we reach a new energy and will explore matter at an even earlier stage of our universe. The universe in its infancy was filled with a dense primordial soup of quark-gluon plasma, which, as the name suggests, is a mixture of quarks, the fundamental particle that make up protons and neutrons, and gluons, the force carriers that bind quarks together. In order to recreate these conditions, massive ions such as gold or lead are made to collide head-on, creating a minuscule fireball in which everything melts into a quark gluon plasma. Increasing the collision energy will increase the volume and the temperature of the quark gluon plasma. This in turn would give scientists a better chance of understanding this exotic substance and might even provide a glimpse into the ever-present question, why is there something rather than nothing? The heavy ion run will provide a great complement to the proton-proton data we've taken this year, Dave Charlton, the spokesman for CERN's ATLAS collaboration, said in the statement referring to the proton run that successfully smashed protons at an energy record of 13 TeV. We are looking forward to extending ATLAS's study of how energetic objects such as jets and W and Z bosons behave in the quark gluon plasma. During the LHC Season 1, researchers confirmed the existence of a phenomenon known as jet quenching, wherein the subatomic particles generated during collisions lose energy as they pass through the quark gluon plasma. Measurements of higher jet energies allow more detailed characterization of this very interesting state of matter, CERN said in the statement. All right, so that's from IBT. Now, from the actual CERN website, they go into more detail of what they're actually doing and how they're achieving these, and I have to give props to somebody who's become I consider a friend. Anthony Patch has done some amazing research into this, and as far as I know, he was the first one to really break open this PeV energy scale. Unfortunately, I've been incredibly busy. I have yet to hear his interview that he did about it, but I heard good things about it, and a lot of my colleagues and other researchers that I highly trust have had nothing but good things to say about Anthony Patch and his research. So I feel comfortable suggesting you check out his stuff. Although that, again, being said, I have not had a chance to review his research into this exact thing, but I do know that he's really interested in CERN and trying to get at after the truth of what they're doing, which is something I'm passionate about too. So definitely check him out. Now on the CERN website, there's a headline here that says "Opinion: A New Energy Frontier for Heavy Ions." It says, although they lack the fundamental significance of the constants of nature, powers of 10 have symbolic importance in human culture. Attaining the age of 100 years is rare enough to be celebrated in many ways around the world. We regularly mark the 100th anniversaries of historical events. A fortunate few can celebrate becoming millionaire or a billionaire. So also with particle accelerators. Two of the great machines of the past were named after the symbolic energy barrier that they broke. The Bevatron, for billions of electron volts, synchrotron, at Berkeley in 1954, was the first to break the barrier of a billion electron volts, now known as a giga-electron volt, or GeV, in the center of mass, by enough to create the first antiprotons in the laboratory. Other early synchrotrons in Birmingham and Brookhaven accelerated beams to the GeV scale energies around the same time. 3 decades later, in 1987, the Tevatron at Fermilab breached the barrier of 1 tera electron volt, or TeV, a trillion electron volts, or 1,000 GeV, in the center of mass. This was thanks to the use of superconducting magnets colliding beams rather than fixed targets, and, of course, the beautiful mathematics of the strong focusing principle. Together, these made large rings of moderate-sized high-field magnets affordable. And there's a footnote here that says the Bevatron had a single 10,000-ton magnet. Each of the LHC's 1,232 bending magnets weighs 35 tons. So, for about 5 times the weight of the Bevatron magnet, the LHC provides about 10,000 times the proton collision energy. This is another measure of the progress of the accelerator science and technology in the meantime. All right, so it also says that the Tevatron beam energy itself was almost 1 TeV, yielding almost 2 TeV in the collisions of opposing beams. Earlier this year, the LHC broke its own previous record by colliding protons at 13 TeV in the center of mass, thanks to even higher field magnets and an even larger ring. Its previous 7 to 8 TeV before the improvements of the first long shutdown was enough to create the Higgs boson. And again, for those not familiar, that happened back in 2012. This week, and this article is about a month old, so this was back in late November, but it's still really important and extremely relevant because in December, actually within I think in just a couple of days at the time of this recording, CERN plans to release what, if any, findings they've had throughout the year. They do that every year in December. So anyway. So it says, just under 3 decades since the Tevatron reached 1 TeV, the LHC resumed its program of colliding so-called heavy ions. More precisely, these are the nuclei of lead atoms. So they're not using protons for this. It's the ions, the nuclei of lead atoms. Since these nuclei contain the electric charge of 82 protons, the machine can accelerate them to 82 times the energy. Because what they, and I'll just pause here, in normal collisions at CERN, at the LHC, they use hydrogen atoms, and it's just a proton, a single proton, and an electron. They strip off the electron, and they just have the single proton. So moving to lead ions, now they have 82 protons. So that's going to give them 82 times the energy, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like if you were to shoot a single bullet as opposed to shooting 82 bullets at something. Each bullet is still going the same, speed, but 82 bullets are going to do a lot more damage than one. So we can kind of think of it like that. But again, these are actual beams, so there's more than just one proton or 82 protons from these are beams. But since the nuclei of lead atoms has 82 protons, they can accelerate them to 82 times the energy. There's also a footnote here. It says if you check the arithmetic, you will see that the lead beam energy is actually very slightly less than 82 times the proton energy. This year, the LHC experiments requested the same average energy per pair of colliding nucleons as in the 2013 run, where 4 TeV protons were collided with 328 TeV lead nuclei. This was arranged by lowering the LHC's magnetic field from the value corresponding to 6.5 TeV protons to that of 6.37 TeV protons. That was still just enough to exceed 1 PeV in total collision energy. So they're very concerned with being absolutely exact. All right, so going back, it says that in doing this, they reached 1,045 TeV in the collisions, breaking the symbolic barrier of a quadrillion electron volts, or 1 PeV, which is a peta electron volt. It says, however, and this is important, the lead isotope accelerated in the LHC also contains 126 neutrons, which have no electric charge for the LHC's accelerating fields to work on. So the energy is shared among the 208 nucleons, each of which receives 82 over 208, or 39.4% of the energy that the LHC imparts to single protons. In nuclear physics literature, it's customary to quote the average center of mass energy of pairs of colliding nucleons, which is now 5.02 TeV. Still, the concentration of so much energy into the tiny nuclear volume is enough to establish truly colossal densities and temperatures about 250,000 times those at the core of the sun. So basically, what this is saying is, yes, they've reached, over 1 PeV of collision energy, but all that energy is shared among 208 nucleons, and a nucleon is just a particle of the nucleus of an atom, so protons, neutrons. But it's shared among those, all that energy. So it would be, again, if we take our bullet analogy, you have one bullet that fires at incredible speed. Now, if you take that same energy and shared it among 82 bullets, they would not be going very fast at all. It would still be, the same energy, but it would be shared now and split up and divided. So that's what they're talking about here when they say that it's a peta electron volt. It's true, and it's a huge barrier to break, but it's shared. So it's not like the single proton collisions that normally happen, where just one proton collides with another. They do have like single nucleons, but when they're colliding, it's at, like it says, 39.4 of the energy that the LHC imparts to single protons. So still a big achievement, but it's not like they're not firing single protons at each other at a peta electron volt of energy yet. They're not. It's shared. So I hope that makes sense and helps get our heads around this. So even in doing that with these lead ions, even though they have that much energy, the average center of mass energy of pairs of colliding nucleons is only 5.02 TeV. So that's not a lot compared to what they've, because they've had 13 TeV. So, but again, it's still a different particle. And as it says, the concentration of so much energy, because it's still in a very small space. I mean, it's shared energy, but it's still in a very small concentrated space. So it says heavy ion collisions recreate the quark-gluon plasma, the extreme state of matter that's believed to have filled the universe when it was only microseconds old. Besides searching for new fundamental particles, the LHC experiments have substantial physics programs that study the collective behavior of quarks and gluons when they form in this state. From the perspective of the early 1950s, the energies attained by the Tevatron and LHC would have seemed like science fiction, but thanks to breakthroughs in accelerator science and technology in subsequent decades, they are now real. Who can anticipate the future progress that may one day give us single nucleons colliding with 1 PeV? In the meantime, while it seems unlikely that the LHC will be renamed the Pevatron, we can celebrate this week's breaking of the new symbolic energy barrier. It may be a while before the next such occasion. All right, so now I do believe that they will, maybe not at CERN. I don't know if it can handle that or not, but they might find a way. They have Wakefield accelerators that are in the works, and which I've done videos on that. But I do believe in the future they will reach over peta electron volt in single nucleons, in single collisions. And again, a nucleon is just it's just the name given to a particle of the nucleus of an atom. So it's like a class of particles, and so protons would be in that group. A proton is a nucleon. So right now, they're able to do single proton collisions at 13 tera electron volts. And this lead ion thing, it has a combined energy of over 1 peta electron volt, but in single collisions, it's only about 5. It's a little bit more than 5 tera electron volts. So still important. It's still something that we should keep our eyes on in terms of CERN and what they're doing. And that also opens up the possibility that people, have brought up that this is just what we're being told. I mean, and I don't believe we should be paranoid about things, but I don't believe that we should just blindly believe everything either. We should do our due diligence and research. Now, just besides the fact that it's human driven and it's governments and they're people aren't really the most trustworthy sources of information. Besides all of that, I have not found anything extremely substantial to say that CERN is lying about their capabilities. I believe that they probably are, and let me be clear about that. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that I haven't found anything. I haven't found any smoking gun or anything really super substantial. There are little bits and pieces around. A physicist will say something kind of odd, um, or a report will come out that's from a reputable news source that just the way it's worded or the way that they quote physicists, it seems to say it seems like there is a lot more going on behind the scenes. I do believe that there is, but it's just speculative. It's just an idea. I don't have a whole lot to be able to really hang that on. But uh, again, I mean, look at what we're dealing with. We're dealing with untrustworthy, uh, humans and governments, and I mean, when it's not like the governments of the world have had a great track record at being totally honest with their citizens. So it would not surprise me if they could have already reached these in single proton collisions. Who knows? And again, it might not even be CERN. It might be something else. There are plans to build other colliders, possibly in Japan or China. Um, so that's a possibility too. So we will see how all that develops. Again, the first that I heard of this was from Anthony Patch. I have not had a chance to review his research, so all I can really say is the little that I have looked at, I think is very well done, and all the colleagues that I work with that know of his research have vouched for him on more than one occasion. So and I trust them. But until I can really review what he's said on my own, I can't. I'm just being honest about my own limitations. So, but there is. I haven't come across anything to say that would tell me that he's untrustworthy or anything like that. I believe that Anthony Patch is a very good researcher, and a lot of people have been able to get a lot out of what he has to say. So check out his work into revealing the truth of CERN. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. I would like to know what you all think about this. I hope that I've been able to explain this in a way that makes enough sense. I mean, when we're talking about proton collisions and the Large Hadron Collider, I mean it's a difficult to understand topic. I do my best in all my books and videos to try to make it as accessible as possible for everybody, and a lot of that is because that's just how I need to research, because I'm limited. I can't I don't just read physics textbooks at home or anything. I have to be able to understand this in a way that I can grasp. So that's what I do. I try to make it as simple as possible so I can understand it, then take it from there, and then report back to you guys. So hopefully I've been able to do that in this video. But again, it's something to keep our eyes on. Big changes are happening, and we are headed towards a quantum future. What exactly that will look like is still up for speculation, but it's a good idea for us to research these things now while we still can. And, instead of waiting for some huge discovery or some huge world-changing event to happen, and then we have to play catch-up and hope that we'll be able to actually do that. It's a good idea to start looking at this stuff now. So, subscribe, share, rate, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. I like reading your opinions. Lately, the past few videos that I've done have been really great with the feedback that I've received and the opinions that people have. I enjoy that, and I think other people, other subscribers do too. So let's get a discussion going. All right. So all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care and God bless.